Flosstube, welcome to my channel, Bobo Jessie Stitches, and I'm Jessie. And this is a channel primarily about cross stitching. How's everyone doing today? Today for us is, for me, I guess not for you necessarily, but today is Sunday, June 2nd. It's it's deceptively pretty outside right now. We've been having a lot of rain here in Houston recently, and it's that time of the year. We get a lot of rain in springtime, early summer, and throughout summer in general. We have deluge of rain, and then eventually we'll hit a drought. It's kind of what we do here. But otherwise, we're doing okay. How about you? So I hope that you had a good May. Did you have a good May? I did. I had a fantastic May. It was a busy May, not in terms of cross stitching, but in terms of my personal life. Did a lot of traveling, which impacts my stitching, as you will see. But first, at the beginning of the month, I was in Detroit for a week, almost about a week, for a work conference, which is one of the best conferences. I love attending it. It's where I meet my national peers, some international peers, I guess, who do what I do. And so there's nothing like meeting people who understand what you do, right? And who have the same mentality about how you do your job, because not everyone who does what you do thinks the same way you think about it. But these are national thought leaders in the space, and it's always so much fun to go and hang out with them. And so, but I was in Detroit, and it's a busy conference. If I stitched at all, it was very minimal, but I did do stitching. But that was pretty hardcore. And then I came home for a week, and then we left for Maryland, where we attended Maryland Death Fest, which is a heavy metal music concert for my bucket list for my husband. He's been wanting to go for a while, so we were able to go, and so we did that. And of course, that was a vacation, and even on vacations, I do some stitching at night and things like that. But the show was clearly at night, and so our pattern that we kind of got into was that we did have a day, and I'll talk about that as part of my story time at the end. But we did have a day where we didn't have the show, but basically for 5 days we had a concert, and so what we would kind of do was that we would get up, have breakfast, because we stayed in this wonderful bed and breakfast in Baltimore called Rachel's Dowry, which, if you are a person looking for a place to stay in Baltimore, it's near the baseball stadium, so she gets booked up for baseball games pretty quickly. But so it's in the Inner Harbor in that area of Baltimore. But the pricing was pretty comparable to a lot of the hotels, and very convenient to a lot of things within downtown Baltimore. And but the lady who runs it, her name is Linda. She is wonderful, and so it was a lovely place to stay. Cannot recommend it enough. Really, we're now regulars, as we told her at the very end. When we were departing, but we would get up for breakfast, because our breakfast was amazing, and they were big breakfasts that could sustain you throughout the day. And then we would come back to our rooms and we would take a nap. We would intentionally force ourselves to take a nap, and then we would leave for the venue usually around 3 o'clock, and then we would be in the show. Would have a lunch dinner, usually around 3 or 4 o'clock when we got to the area. And then we would go to the show, which normally in between midnight and 1 o'clock, and then we'd come back and repeat ourselves. And we did that for 5 days. So that was, and so because of that, not a lot of stitching. Sometimes, in between naps or before falling a nap, like I would do a little bit of stitching. So again, it's a lot. And then we were back, and now we've been home for a week after coming back from a day after Memorial Day. I will let you know that, I've had vertigo since we've gotten back, about a week ago. I went to the doctor on Friday morning, which was a couple of days ago. I have medication, and she's told me, giving me some exercises and stuff. But if I seem a little wonky, or looking a little loopy, it's because I have vertigo right now. I'm trying my best to kind of deal with it. I've done the exercises. I don't know if I'm doing them correctly. But I'm doing them once a day as recommended, and I'm taking medication. But I didn't take the medication before this video because it makes me sleepy. And so, but this is bad because I got a serious work week in front of me, and so I gotta figure out how to get this under control, because I got some works. But enough about that. Let's talk about from cross stitching. So all of that's to let you know, all the traveling did not give me a great month in terms of stitching. Gave me a great month in terms of traveling and having my cup filled with work and personal time, but not a lot of stitching. I worked on 3 projects this month, put in 4,823 stitches over the 21 days. And so and that's it. Again, not a lot, but you know, progress is progress, and I still feel like there's not a lot. So just as a reminder for everybody, I am not going to be inserting, and I'm doing a lot of editing. I do some editing, but not a lot of editing. I will not be inserting before pictures. If you are interested in the before pictures and what it looks like, the stitching that happened over the course of the month, please follow me on Instagram at boba underscore Jessie C. Information in the show notes, where I do post progress pictures that includes the before and after for the month's stitching. So, but first up we have Castle Homecoming by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I am trying hard to get this done. This is my focus piece until it is finished. And I worked on this for 9 days, and I put in 1,357 stitches. And here it is. So last time that you saw it, I pretty much have finished the bottom half, and now I'm working in this top. I finished this top corner, and now I'm moving and finishing this, the left side of the piece as I see it. And so not a whole lot. I finished. I got through this top part of the border, and then all this grass, and then the brick, lay over there. So that's basically what I did. I am stitching this on 32 count Lugana Sandcastle by Color and Cotton, 2/2 with all of the called for DMC, with the only exception being I did skin conversions for me and my family. So I have made myself the Countess, the Knight is my husband, the Queen is my mother, and the King is my father. I added beards to the men because both men have beards. And then the Heralder is I in considering to be my best friend, and then the Wizard being all the people who have supported me in the process. So that's pretty much where they are. Okay, lots of fun. Again, I'm at 80% completed according to Pattern Keeper, and so again, it's going to be a focus piece for the month and trying to get it done, and it'll be a focus piece until I'm done. I will say it has a tangent. I had plans for May, like Mirror May and stuff like that. Didn't do any of that. What was I thinking? Plans. Like when I was preparing, when I was looking at my notes and everything for like what my plans were, I had planned to work on Deadly Aquarium and Mirror May, and I didn't, and Stitch for Pride. Didn't do any of that. I just worked on. The only thing I did that was part of my goals was Ever After, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But that is where I am on Castle Homecoming. We'll talk about plans in a minute. All right. The next up is Dr. Georgina Wyndham by Forbidden Fiber Co. This one is my travel piece. And I stitch on this only pretty much when I'm at the doctor's office at this point in time. I did do a little bit of stitching of this in the month of April that I didn't show you progress on. So this actually does include both progress for April and May. And in total for April and May, I had put in 404 stitches. And so here it is. Not a whole lot of changes to it. Again, continuing on down, completing the fleece of the sheep, and I started putting in the outline of her body. But I noted this as 2 days in Instagram if you see it, and I do think that's pretty accurate. I worked on it definitely for 2 days here in May, and then probably a day or so in April. So not a lot of stitching happening on this one. I am probably going to my plans for this is that I'm going to continue on getting the fleece done, or her wool, not her fleece, but getting her wool done as part of my travel piece, and then after that I'll probably convert this to a regular at home project to get her done. All right. Oh, and everything is Forbidden Fiber Code. It's 32 count linen, love potion, using 2/2 with the called for Forbidden Fiber Code floss. Okay. All right. Last but not least is the Ever After Sal. So for my fandom stitching challenge group, I did do the challenge in May, which was to work on a single project for up to 24 days, but I ended up doing it for 15 days. I'm working on a single project, putting in 200 stitches each of those days. And so that was the challenge, and that is what I ended up doing. I don't do the many starts. I was going to do the Mirror May, did not do the Mirror May. You know, again, when you travel a lot, you should, unless you're traveling to a stitching retreat, you should probably assume you're not going to be doing a lot. But that, but I've been on vacations, and I do stitching on vacations. Like, I guess it depends on vacation. But anyway, so let's talk about Ever. I don't have a photo of what it's going to look like. I'll have that next time. Basically, the only thing that was pretty much available for most of May were the frames, and that's really all I worked on. So here we are, Ever After. Sal, I stitched on this for 16 days. I put in 3,062 stitches. As you can see, I'm still working on that bottom frame right here. But that's basically what I got done. This is a hard thing to count. I'll tell you, these are hard to count. But it is what it is. Part 1 has been released over in this corner. It just got released. I did not get to stitch on it. I'm already behind on the Sal. But at this point, I think what my intentions are going to be is to try to stitch the parts as they come out and try to stay on time for this Sal. I think that these, as you see, they're not big squares. Now the bottom, there's some much bigger ones, but they're not huge. And I'm thinking that I'm going to do a part, and then I'm going to work on the frames as I have time to work on it. But otherwise, once we hit part 10, this is part 10, I am going to basically just keep up with frame and piece at the same time if I have not caught up on framing at that point. But look at this. So again, this is everything by Forbidden Fiber Co. The fabric is called Ever After. It's 32 count linen, and I'm doing everything with the called for FFC floss 2/2. But there you are. All being well, I'll have more to show you next month. Not all being well. I will have much more to show you next month because of my plans. But that's it. That's my stitching for the month of May. Again, not a ton, but progress is progress, and this is supposed to be fun, and it's fun for me, and that is ultimately what matters. So let's talk about plans for June, and then we'll talk about purchases. So plans for June. I'm trying not to have any. Honestly, because one, I don't know if I'm going to have any. I have 2 retreats planned. So excited. I'm going to be going to Stitching Siren in San Antonio. That is hosted by Under the Sea Fabrics. And I'm very excited. I don't think I know anybody going. I may know somebody that I may have met at the stitching retreat that was in Dallas last year, but I'm not 100% positive. So making new friends, I guess, when I show up, if I don't know anyone. But I'm looking forward to that. And that is going to be on the weekend of Juneteenth. So we have Juneteenth off. My office does celebrate and close in observance of Juneteenth. And very excited. It's a federal holiday. Growing up in Texas, it's always been known as a Texas holiday, and so very happy that it's now a federally recognized holiday, and for the impact of what it actually means, right? Which is, for those of you who do not know, Juneteenth is the day that the last state was notified of the Emancipation Proclamation, and thus the emancipation of enslaved people in the state of Texas. So it was on Juneteenth, is the day that is celebrated and has was for a long time a Texas holiday, but being federally recognized as the day or the last of the enslaved people in the Confederacy were emancipated. For those of you, the reason why I make a note of talking about the Confederacy is because the Emancipation Proclamation only applied to the Confederate States. There were other states that remained part of the Union for which their slavery continued in effect, and it required state constitutional changes within those states to emancipate everyone. So, and I do believe that that did happen. But I'm not 100% sure what the timeline was. So but anyway, so Juneteenth. Exciting about that. So be sure we celebrate that. But I'm off on Juneteenth, and I'll be driving to San Antonio, and then the retreat itself is from the 20th, the Thursday through the Sunday, the 22nd. Again, if you're coming, let me know. Let's become friends. And then I'm doing a virtual retreat on June 29th, the last Saturday of the month. And that is the guest designer there is Misty of Luminous Fiber Arts. And if you know me, Frosted Pumpkin is probably up there, but Misty Luminous Fiber Art is also like right up there in terms of like some favorite designers that I always really like have to sit on my hands and not buy everything that they release. Um, and so I'm really excited. And also Misty has a great way of teaching. She is a professor. She teaches, I think, Spanish, if I'm remembering correctly, at the university level. And so she has a great way of teaching when she does teach. And so really excited to spend the day with her. But this was Annabelle's pop-up summer retreat. I do think there's still space available for that. All the information about the retreats are in the show notes, so if you are interested, I don't think Stitching Sirens is sold out. There's no room for that, but in the future, if you're interested in that one, you can at least know how to get the information about it. And then of course Annabelle's pop-up retreat. I think there is space in that one, so if you are interested in that one, then you can definitely hope on that. Although it's a little too late to do the smalls exchange if you are interested in doing that virtual retreat. Now, in terms of my plans, I am not doing a smalls retreat for either one of these. In preparing for this and thinking, oh, July is going to probably be a whip parade. So I kind of started thinking a little bit about like where I am on stuff. I have 26 whips, which if you have been following me for a while, know that that is high for me. I usually like to keep it around the 15 to 18 number. And so the fact that I have 26 is way too many for me. So I really want to kind of focus my attention on trying to get some finishes done and being able to stop and do two smalls and finish them and to be prepared for that. I was just like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to, as much as there's going to be some FOMO and as much as I would love to be able to participate in these exchanges at the retreat and participate, I just don't think I have the bandwidth to break one. Obviously I didn't stitch that much in May. I don't know how much stitching I'm going to be doing in June, and whatever I want to do, I want to try to get some finishes done so I can get things off of start clearing some stuff off so I don't feel so overwhelmed when I look at my whip pile. And so that's going to be it. So in terms of plans, I don't know if I have any. I want to really continue to focus on Castle Homecoming. I'm trying to get that done. I'm going to try to keep up with the Ever After Sal. I think that's one that I should be able to keep up on. I would like to work on Cinderella. I didn't get anything done in May, so I'm trying to get at least one row done a month to try to get Cinderella done this year. And so I think that's going to kind of be where I'm going to focus on Cinderella. I'm not going to take that with me to the retreat, but otherwise I think I'm just going to, whatever mood I am in is what I'm going to stitch. This is going to be a wee month. Stitch what I want when I want, right? So, but that's going to be the plans for June. And all right, so let's talk about purchases now. I don't have very many purchases, but I did while we were in Baltimore. We went and visited the Stitching Post, which is in a suburb, I guess, a town right outside of Baltimore, and we visited it, and it's a lovely, lovely shop. They do have an online presence, so check them out. I'll have their information in the show notes again. But they were very sweet, and I really loved walking around. So as you do, I don't always buy a pattern every time we travel somewhere, but when I do find one, if we do go to a store and I find a pattern that I think would work with my stitching plans and everything, then we do buy something. So we did purchase the Maryland it's Instaplastic, so it's got a little. So this is the Maryland State Spool. So these are spools by Crafty Bluebonnet Designs. This is a 2024. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to kind of take a look to see how many of these are already out, because I don't know if I would make all 50 of them, but this might be an interesting project to do has you visit states, right? Like had you visit each state. But my husband picked this out, so I'm going to finish it as an ornament when it's done. But yeah, this is by Crafty Bluebonnet Designs, and so again, it's the State Spool series. I also purchased Grand Old Flag 2. Let me take this one out of the package. This one's not going to be as hard to get out. The other one has an adhesive, so this one's just a Ziploc baggie. So this is by Brenda Gervais. So this is Grand Old Flag 2. We thought this was a little bit with that needle and thread. I was like, I don't think we always just call her Brenda Gervais, but my husband picked this out because he thought it looked a little bit different for the patriotic patterns. And as you know, if you've been with me for a while, but for those of you who don't know, I'm a member of the DAR. Last year we made ornaments for veteran homes, and just in the event that we may make them again, I purchased these to be able to make those ornaments. I thought those were really nice, and has a gift that can be made for them. And again, you know, I am not typically I'm a Halloween 365 gal, right? So a lot of my stitching is spooky related, and I'm also a nerdy stitcher, so it's a lot of nerdy stitching. So, but you know, having stitched those those ornaments last year, like I might become a slight patriotic stitcher. We'll see. Not really. I like cutesy, nerdy, and Halloween. And then I also got I'm not sure if it's going to be the right color, but I went ahead and got the Sizzle Pom Pom from Lady Dot Creates. And so it's a nice bright red. But I have enough that I think even if it doesn't work for that ornament, it'll work either way. And then I got 2 pieces of fabric from Fox and Rabbit that are just deliciously yummy. Both 32 count linen. So this one is oyster shell. Let's see. I'm going to play with lighting for a minute here. See if I can get the... Ooh, let's try that one. Yeah, that looks like it might be getting a truer color. So this is a lilac, kind of a lavender. Maybe lavender may be the better description for it. A little bit of some light modeling in there. Beautiful. This is just a beautiful fabric. It really reads pretty neutral, even though it is a lavender kind of color. So that is Oyster Shell. And Inca, which is one of their newer colors for Fox and Rabbit right here. And this is a pale yellow with some pinkish peach kind of modeling in there. All right. Again, let's play with lighting. See if I can get... Yeah, this one actually is going to be the better and most accurate in terms of light. So this is one of their newer colors per the shop. So if you're seeing this pop up in shops right now, just know this is beautiful. A beautiful neutral. Again, it's that yellow tone with some peach pink modeling underneath it. Really, really, really pretty. And so, but that is my purchases at the shop. And my big purchase is I purchased a Hearthside Craftworks stand, a lap stand. I purchased that actually in April, but it has arrived. And so I am going to go ahead and insert a video here of me doing my review of it and giving you kind of a very clunky, like not tutorial, but like walking through my impressions of putting it together and everything along that lines. We're going to call this part 1 because I think that I think I'll have more to say about how to use it and how it's going to be done once I've actually been there. I've only gotten it for 4 days, and so it was it's brand new, and so I anticipate having another video in a few months that once I kind of get my stitching place set up and how I'm going to have it really have used it once I get the scroll rod set up with and as opposed to just using it with the projects on the snaps. And so, but anyways, I am going to go ahead and insert that video here. All right, be right back. All right, everyone. So here is my Hearthside uh, Craftworks Lap Stand. So this is probably about as best as I can get it with my camera and my setup and everything. So apologize for it not being as great as it can be. But nonetheless, let's see what I can show you. All right, so here is so this is the stand fully assembled at a perpendicular view. I have Q snaps adapters on top of it, so that way you can see this straight from it. Now, here's the thing. So, so this is the stabilizer bar at the top here, and these are the Q. This is a Q snap holder, as you can see, and then I'll flip this a little bit there, and then you can see the metal bracket bars that are included with it to create a little bit extra stability. I have this is an 8 by 11 snap on top of here, and so over here you will see that I have a Q snap holder over on this side, and I have one over on this side. You can move these wherever you want. There's plenty of little attachment holes on the sides for you for whatever size that you want. This is an 18-inch bar, and from here to here. So let's see if I can get it in frame. I can't get it in frame, but so that's 18-inch. And again, so this is an 11-inch Q snap. And so with this, it adds about an inch to the side and an inch to the front. So you got to kind of keep that in mind as you are trying to decide what you get. Now, I had originally ordered a 20-inch bar because they recommend that you get a bar that's at least 2 inches larger than your largest Q snap width. And my Cinderella piece is on a 17-inch, and so I had gotten a 20-inch bar, but they offered me a discount getting an 18. I'm guessing there were supply issues, but that's neither here nor there. They were gonna offer it. I was like, you know what? The only project I have is Cinderella on a 20 on a 17, so I think I can make do with an 18. So I did make do with an 18, and so but that's where, and then you can see. I'm not put the camera on this one. But you can see that is the distance that I have in terms of the 18 using an 11 Q snap. Now, here's the thing. For whatever reason, I cannot figure out why. Mine is a little uneven, and I'm guessing it's user error. I'm guessing it's like in terms of like it's not flat. Like even when I'm looking at this right now with it being perpendicular to its side, it is currently not even. Now, my mistake was that I had popped this part out right here. I had popped this out thinking I could adjust this, and then it turned out that's really where I wanted, so I tried to put it back, and so I think that's where it is. I think I have messed up the 90-degree angle here, and so I'm going to pop this out at some point in time. We found a rubber mallet, and we're going to kind of fix this back up, or my husband's probably going to fix it back up for me just to be sure I did it correctly. And so anything that you see over here in terms of it not looking even and everything, that's on me. That was me trying to see if I could adjust this part and seeing if I would want it to be adjusted. And it looks like you can. I will say this. I think you can adjust this to move it to different holes, I think, if you wanted to. But just know that this is a square fit here. So it does require a mallet hammer to get it in and everything. And once I saw that and we reassembled it and I kind of played around with it, I think this will be fine for most things. Like when I finally sat down with it and was playing with it and really, like the reason why I was thinking I might want to adjust it, just so that you know, is because I'm not a small girl, and I got some thighs on me. I'll just admit that, and so I had wanted to move this down one here just to give that little extra lift, so that way when I was flipping it, it wouldn't necessarily hit as much. But that being said, even on here, it doesn't hit me in any way, so don't interpret that as a negative review, because it's not. It was just, I just wanted to see, I had wanted to see what the difference was. Like, that's just was, like, would I preferred it that way. I'm still not convinced that you can't move it, but I think you have to be kind of committed to moving it if you wanted to do that. So, but otherwise, this is it, right? Now, I will say that I'm going to show you over here. The tensions are on this side. You don't want to have it too loose because then you'll see like it just flops down with the weight. But otherwise, though, you kind of want to make your tension as you want it. But the less tension that you have, though, you will see the more wobbly it is on the side. Now, I don't think that's as big of a deal as you may has it feels at first, because one, you're going to want it to be a little wobbly. I know that sounds weird, and that's the sound of it twisting tighter, like going into the spring. And there you go, a little less wobbly now, but at the same time still able to move it. But of course you can adjust it. But going back to why I don't think it'll matter so much if you feel like it's a little too wobbly. One, because when this sits on a flat table, right? Like this sits on a flat surface, and which is great. Honestly, I'm really excited about this because setting all this up to record this makes me realize I could probably start doing the Stitch with me's pretty quickly now. But now that I have a stand and a camera set up, that I could do everything that way. But when you're on your couch or your lazy chair, or I sit on a chaise lounge, the couch is not flat, right? So you want this to be able to adjust a little bit. You want it to be a little bit not as rigid, so that way when you are sitting on the couch and you're moving and you're adjusting, that it is moving and adjusting with you, and not feeling so sturdy and so tight. So don't feel too like, oh no, is it not sturdy? It is. Like, this is solid. Oops. that's this is my fault. That's sturdy and that's solid. So, but that's the general frame of it. I've been using it now for a couple of days and I've liked it. I've gotten used to it. Again, I think if long as I'm always using an 8 by 11 snap here, that sitting on this level of the bar is going to be fine and it's going to work great. I have the bottom Q snap right beneath the turn, and then I have my top Q snap just to fit a little bit in the middle, and that's about 6 holes over. Now, okay, so that takes care of the frame itself. Now, let's talk about the snap holder. And I think you can probably use this for other scroll rods. I mean, being honest, I don't know. I do have some other scroll rods that I haven't used in years and years, so I don't know if I'll ever bring them out. But if you wanted to, I think you could. So here, now I'm going to flip it over a little bit so that you can kind of see where it fits on the snap. So to have this where it is, it's just slightly like, right, I can fit a finger in there. Similarly, at the top, I can fit a finger in there. And that's for it to be able to hold the snaps in that way. Now, I don't know if that's a big deal or not. Now, you saw this fall out. I think it's because I didn't have it as tight as I needed to. So you can tighten it, and then you can see it's pretty solid. But I can pull it out if I needed to. Why can you pull it out? It's plastic. It's plastic on wood. I mean, so it's, it's not going to keep it in place in such a way that, it's never going to fall out. So just kind of keep that in mind. And because it's plastic on wood, it's a smooth surface on a smooth surface. But what you want is for it to be sturdy enough that it doesn't fall out of your piece, right? So here we go. Oops, there we go. I just did a wiggle and it just fell out. But all right, so maybe that's not the way to go. But let's see if I can adjust this a little bit. It was a little bit angled. That might be part of it. But one of the things is like, how do you put it in? I did have some issues like trying to figure out how to get it in with both of these bars. And really what it is, it's an insert, right? Like you're going to loosen this up enough to fit your Q snap in, and then it's an insert. Like you're going to have to insert it. Like, I guess you can go from this side depending on how big you are, but I still have my fabric rolled up underneath and I'm holding it with my little bobbins, spool bobbin things that I usually do. And you can kind of gauge like what you want. So now what I'm going to do is I had it where it was on the edge to create stitching space at the top because you can see I'm starting to stitch right here. And so I adjust the Q snap itself. I move this and everything. But you can move these. Like, so if you're stitching on this side, like I can flip this knob and put it on the other side over here and be able to clear up this space and then move it over. So just to show you how easy that would be. So I'm going to remove my snap here. Let me show you how easy this would be. So I'm going to move this to the other side because as you saw, I'm stitching on the left side. Now it is, I've tightened it. Oops. I need to hold while I tightened it too tight. Oh, there it goes. Oh, there it goes. All right, so you're going to oops, there it goes. You're going to unroll. It's going to pop out just like that, so you can see that. Now, I'm now going to roll over to this side so you can see it. And I want it on this part, in the center part. Oops, wait, no, that's too close. I want it just one down. And then you just roll it on. Tighty-righty, lefty-loosey, or whichever way you can get it to turn if you're like me and never remember. All right, I'm going to adjust my bobbin floss fabric holder because I don't think I need to move, oops. I don't think I need to move the top one, but if I need to adjust it, I will. So there you go. I've now inserted it, and now you're going to tighten it up. I'm going to tighten it up. And voila. There you go. Now I have moved my snap holders to the right and to the left. That's not tight enough, so let's tighten that up a little bit. There you go. See, now let's tighten it up. Again, if I really pull on it, I'm going to be able to pull it off because it's plastic among wood, smooth surface to smooth surface. But there you go. Now I have this space, this whole left side, because I'm working on the left side of my project with my snap on the right, and there you go. So that's it. So that is the snapped adapter. Now, I think that this is how it's going to stay the majority of the time. Now, where I think that it's going to be a bit of a pain point, and I think this is where it may make a difference if you are always a snap stitcher or if you're always a scroll stitcher, because I think that's going to make a huge difference in what you're going to like about this. So here we are, right? So this is that. I'm going to take off my snap, my project, so that I can show you. Making noises. Now this is not a good example. So here is Cinderella, right? So here's Cinderella. It's too big for this. So I am thinking about putting this on my 20-inch scroll rods. Now, oops. Sorry, I am not quite ready. So here are the scroll rods. I have not done anything, and so I'm here trying to take off the wood part. Alright, so here are the scroll rods right here. So here are the scroll rods, and then you can see that it's got a canvas fabric attached to it so that you can sew your project onto it if you're using scroll rods. So I am probably going to convert Cinderella over to the scroll rods because, again, as you saw, it does fit in the space of the 18-inch, but it will not fit on the snap holders. So I'm probably going to put Cinderella onto the scroll rods, even though I'm almost done with it, and just so that way I can utilize the frame. Now, as you can see, the scroll rods are just the little wooden part, just like the snaps go in and out of that little bit with the knob. Well, the problem is that, I guess it's not really a problem, but as you will see, I'm trying to get this in spots, if I can do this. Let's see. All right, here we go. As you can see, like, you can't just like insert it, right? So you have to completely detach the whole thing and insert from one side to the other on where you're going to be. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. Like, you're going to stick it in and you're going to turn it on. Now, exchanging scroll rods that way, it's going to be just the 4 knobs, turning it off. And again, if you're a monogamous stitcher, that might not be a big deal, right? Because you're always going to leave your scroll rods on until you switch out your projects. Now, but switching between a Q-snap and a scroll rod may not be as easy as it may seem, because as you can see, there are these metal brackets here, and there are 2 knobs here, and then of course that. So to detach the stabilizer bar for your snap adapter, you're gonna have to take off your metal bracket and your knob. So I have these on pretty tight because me. So you're gonna roll that off, right? And then you're gonna have to take this off. And what's gonna be the issue is you're gonna have parts. So now you're gonna have parts, right? So you're gonna have your 3 pieces. So you have your washer, your screw, and your spacer. You're going to have pieces here. And then you're going to take it off. Now, I think you can leave the bracket on here, right, wherever you're going to do that. And so probably what you're going to want to do is to keep all your pieces together, right? And I have the knobs on the side. I suspect you can probably put them on the bottom, but I have them on the side to keep them out of the way from the projects and everything, right? So you're going to want to keep your parts together. I don't know, like, right, your mileage may vary on how tight you want it. I don't like the idea of it being flippity floppity like that, so I probably would close it all the way. And you probably would not hold it like this doing it. I'm just doing this for the video purposes, right? And so then you have that, right? So you have that. So my recommendation would be, oops, let's not knock that down, right? Is that you would keep everything together. So similarly, right, you're going to remove your second. Now the thing is that like the knobs you need for your scroll rods. So this part you're not going to be able to leave on because you're going to need all 4. You're going to need all 4 of these pieces to be able to screw on here, right? So now again, you're going to have parts. You're not going to be able to leave together, right? And so I don't think that's a big deal. Again, I think that it's just a matter of like figuring out your storage and how you're going to put things together. But just know that the 4 knobs, you're going to have to come out separately because, right, you have 2 scrolls, 1 on each side, right? So, you know, not to tell you how math works, but that's how math works. But that's it, right? So I think that that's one of the things that you kind of have to take into account. I'm going to go ahead while you are watching me do this, put everything back together so that way you can see how really pretty easy it actually is once you kind of get the parts out and kind of get it acclimated, right? So again, you have this. Now I'm going to take apart this little do because you need that. I've already had the metal bracket included. La, 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 ambient music while I untwist knobs. Okay. Now, right, you can see I have that pretty loose. Like, I don't have that pretty tight. Now, according to my husband, you want the washer against the wood piece that it protects your wood. Like you don't put it against your metal piece. Although when I'm looking at this, I think you might want the little. Why wouldn't you want the washer next to the or the spacer? Because it looks like it's gonna fall through, doesn't it? Anyways, all right. So I am now gonna put this in through my top one there. And even that up, make sure that's square. Roll that on. You can probably go in the other order, I suspect. I suspect the other order is fine. Okay. Now you have that. The little knob goes right there. And then you just tighten up. Now, this is me doing this for like the third time ever since owning this project. So, that might not be the way to do it, Like, I'm looking at it and things are not quite squared up on either side. So I'm probably going to play around with this off camera and get this resituated. But I think that once you have it set up, like, it will be that you'll be fine, right? And then again, just to show you how easy it is to, and then this you just roll in, and that's it, right? And that's how you go, and then to tighten it is that's it. That's the process. It's pretty adjustable. Now, I will say that you can see that I can't even fit it in the camera space, right? It's pretty big. I mean, this is 18 inches. Each part of the stand here adds probably another 5 inches or hand width, right? So this is a good size gal, right? Like this isn't something that easily sits someplace. So my struggle for these past few days has been, where do I put this? Like, right? And so my husband and I have been kind of talking about it, like, because I don't really have space on my sitting spot where I can just leave it without it not being in the way. So I'm going to have to kind of figure out my storage. It's probably my next step is reorganizing my stitching spots. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to leave that here because this will be my initial impression of the stand. And I'm going to use it for a month or two and kind of get comfortable with it, get my space set up for it. And then I will do an update video in a few months of what it looks like using it in my stitching spot, how I kind of figured out how to store it when I'm not using it, which is pretty rare. If I'm sitting on the couch, I'm usually stitching, but when I'm not sitting on the couch, what do you do with it? Right. So but that's it. I hope that you enjoyed that, and now return back to regular Flosstube. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. That is actually the end of the stitching content. If you are staying for my little silly story, I appreciate it. But otherwise, that's it. And if you're coming to Stitching Siren or you're going to be on Annabelle's summer pop-up, let me know so that way I can find you. But otherwise, until then, I'll see you next month. For those of you who are staying for my silly story, thank you. Thank you so much. I always like to think you stay for my silly joke at the very end. Okay, y'all. So one of the free days that we actually had 2 free days. So we arrived on Monday and just went out to dinner basically after we got there and everything. So Monday was a travel day, and then we were there for Memorial Day. But Memorial Day I just spent with my friends, and at my friend's house. So they just hosted a lunch and everything for us. So that was just a friendly day. So, but Tuesday was our one free day, and my husband has had. We've been going to visit Civil War battlegrounds. He is a historical buff, like he loves history. But the Civil War is one of his areas that he really enjoys learning about. it sounds weird to talk about that in the context of the Civil War because of the history of it, but he really enjoys studying the Civil War and reading about it and visiting the battlegrounds. And so the final battleground on the Eastern Front, we still have to do the Western Front, but on the Eastern Front for him that he had not visited was Antietam, which for my international visitors, and maybe for those of you who are not as aware of American history, Antietam is the bloodiest day for American loss, including to date. Like there is never, it is the bloodiest day of American loss. Even D-Day did not suffer the casualties that that occurred on Antietam. So it is a very hallowed ground in the sense of the site, and because there were a lot of people who were not properly buried. There were people, and they are still finding you know the remains of individuals, even though they have been trying to reinter them into cemeteries. They're still finding them, so it is considered hallowed ground. It is an excellent exhibit for how they convey the story of Antietam and what happened in that day, and has the casualties added up over the course, and the loss that was experienced by both sides of the war. And it's impactful, and it's very powerful, and it does make you think a little bit more thoughtfully about the state of politics in the United States currently. And it's a very divisive politics happening right now, that be careful about feeling antagonistic towards our fellow Americans. But it is even if you are not a historical buff, we were able to finish everything in Antietam in about 2 hours. And that's my husband lighting to read plaques and everything and reading everything, and we're going through everything. So it took us about 2 hours, and it's a driving tour. So you're not walking the grounds, and it's however much time you want to spend in each location of the exhibit as you kind of walk through the battlefield. And so anyways, highly recommended if you are interested in history in general, but also in general to learn about it's very hyperbolic now, the way they say when we talk about freedom isn't free, and it's taken by multiple people in multiple ways, in a way that it loses impact. But going to Civil War battlegrounds, Gettysburg as well as Antietam, that it really wasn't. I had family who fought on the Confederate side. I don't have to agree with anything that they did, but my ancestral line did fight for that, and it's there was loss. There was people lost in order for us to become a better country, in order to create a more perfect union. So, anyways, that's not my fun story. Let me tell you my fun story. Okay. Sorry, Reflections on Antietam by Jessie. But here's my fun story. So as we were leaving, so there is a small highway. It's like a 2-lane highway that takes you through. It's a scenic route, you're so from Baltimore into Antietam. It was about an hour and a half drive. And so we're going through, and we got there without any problem. So as we were leaving, however, this 2-lane highway, which is I think Highway 40 is what it was, we're going back, and we came across a tree in the highway, and it was just like, huh. That's funny. And I mean, like a tree, like timber, like a tree fell down. We're like, what? No idea when that happened. It wasn't there when we arrived, which was only about 3 hours earlier. so it wasn't there. On the other side of the tree, there was a school bus, just kind of hanging out there. Doesn't mean anything. It could be that the school bus was unable to turn around, but there was a couple of cars with the school bus. But no one on our side, presumably because they did what we did. Everyone just turned around and went back into town. Here's the thing though, y'all. I don't know if you've noticed this. I'm a Gen Xer. I know how to read a map. I do know how to read a map. I'm not worried about that. But when you are not in a place that and you rely on your Google Maps or your Apple Maps, whatever, your internety webs map, you don't know what to do. It was actually kind of funny. I was just like, like, well, let's see if we turn around and let's see if Google like picks up another route. But the problem was that we didn't actually know which way to go, right? And we didn't have a physical map. And I guess we could have sat down and pulled up the map online and then kind of get a sense and then figure out where to go. I wasn't worried about that. We would have been able to figure it out. But I was like, let's not do that. Let's just turn around. Let's head back into town. And the town we had just driven through, which, and it's like, let's just go find a gas station or someplace. Let's pull in and ask for an alternate route. Let's ask the locals for the alternate route. And this is just advice to anyone who's on the younger spectrum of things. If you don't know how to read a map, learn how to read a map, because things like this happen. Because if you don't, if your original route gets knocked down and your Google doesn't know that it needs to give you an alternate route, you have to at least have a good enough sense of how to read enough of a map. Your Google Maps, you can just zoom out of your Google Maps, so to speak, and be able to identify how to read it and be able to get to where you're going to go and get you an alternate route if Google is not offering you one. Or tip number 2, just ask a friend. And when we say a friend, we mean a perfect stranger at a local store. And so we went into an Ace hardware store and we're like, let's just ask. And so I kind of walked in and I was like, hello. I was like, I need a different type of help. And so there was a greeter, like, right, there's an older gentleman who's a greeter, like that happens in these stores nowadays that they have greeters. And he goes, don't we all? I'm like, yes. I go, I need directions. I was like, you as local need to tell me, please, how to get back to the interstate. That is there an alternate route to the interstate that takes me back to Baltimore? And he proceeded, very sweet gentleman, proceeded to give us some directions that were a little bit more complicated than they probably needed to be. But we were like, okay. My husband's like, I got it. And so we were ready to go. We're like, let's hop in our little vehicle, our rental vehicle, and like, let's go. But in the meantime, there was a customer who was checking out, and we didn't bother the cashier lady nor the customer. We asked the little greeter man, and we're like, and she kind of was lingering, listening to it, and we're like, we're good, we're gonna go out. And so we walked out, and she followed us. She was just like, doo, doo, doo. And she goes, where are you trying to go again? We're like, we're just trying to get to Baltimore. We're just trying to get to a big interstate that will take us back to Baltimore. And she's like, I'm going to give you different directions. And she goes, you can go his way, but it's a little bit complicated. She goes, I'm going to tell you how to get there in 2 turns. And in fact, it's the way that I'm going if you want to follow me to where I'm going. And when I turn off, I'm going to give you, don't turn when I turn. You just keep going straight, and then you will eventually run into the interstate at that point in time. So just give me a follow. She's like, I'm not even sure it adds more time. And we were like, yes, we're going to follow you, lady, instead of following the gentleman said. I don't know what it is, but when you have a person who's like, just follow me, and we're like, where's me? She's not a serial killer. She's not taking us to her house. And so we're like, fantastic. So we followed her. She pulled off to the side to make her turn. She rolled down her window. She waved us off, and we did. Then we hit the interstate less than 10 minutes later, and we were on our way back to Baltimore to have some fantastic crab cakes. So that's my silly story. But 1, lessons of traveling. Be sure you know how to read a map. 2, do not be afraid to ask for directions. 3, the first directions may not be the best directions that you have. And 4, a wonderful, wonderful reminder of everyone in the world. I think that most people out there are kind and friendly and are just out there trying to be good neighbors. And I think it's always a good thing to remind everybody that everyone is just trying to be a good neighbor for the most part. And I thought that was a really fantastic way to end our trip, having spent the day at Antietam and having that weight of the history of the Civil War as we were departing. So I thought that was a fun story to share with you on that. So hope you appreciate that. For those of you who waded through all of that weighty Antietam history, silly direction stories, but faith in humanity a story, here is the joke to leave you with today. Why did the frog not buy the couch? He prefers a toadstool, of course. Oh, wherever you are, I hope you're having a stitchy good time. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me, and I will see you in July. Take care. Bye-bye.